And last but not least, let's talk about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. The first trailer of which literally dropped out of nowhere. At the time, I wasn't sure what to make of it. Because we've pretty much been watered down by all these revivals of classic cartoons, right? Quite recently, Space Jam: A New Legacy, right?
Right.
So this one was like, all right, it's not a reboot, but it's taking the characters that are already which are part of a reboot already, and just putting them in a modern context, and it's kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but isn't, you know.
Right.
But
But here the thing with
hmm,
that before we start is Who Framed Roger Rabbit in their continuity, or is it another movie in that world?
I assume is a movie in that world.
Okay, no problem.
Because when he's shown, they establish that they're actors, right? Like they
Right,
acted in the
dancing. Right,
series that
right,
you and I, Ricardo, grew up on. So I assume that Roger Rabbit was acting in the film Who
right.
Framed
Who
Roger
Framed Roger
Rabbit,
Rabbit?
right?
Right,
Yeah,
no problem, no
yeah.
problem.
Which is a nice little bit of meta
Right,
humor that the
right.
show
Yeah,
does, right?
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, wasn't sure what to make of this, man. Because for one
yeah.
thing, while I did religiously watch the series when it was on TV6, that
Right,
was one of the few cartoons that they show, so I kind
right,
of had no choice, and I was young.
mm,
Wasn't looking forward to like a revival of it, right? Like,
right.
there was stuff like DuckTales and stuff like that, but Chip and
Yeah,
Dale, well, I was like, not so much, right? And I was kind of a Tailspin. I was more of a Tailspin
me
fan
too.
because
Yeah.
of it was
Which you're
more
referencing this,
adventure
yeah.
based more than the mystery based thing of Chip and Dale, right? If I wanted mystery, I could watch Scooby Doo and see characters pull, masks off and oh, this is who it really is, right? But I didn't want to see chipmunks do it. But that was just me, right? But so you still watch it and had fun with it. I always used to make the joke of Monterey Jack being a crack addict because of how he used to go
Yeah,
off for cheese.
and it's
I
straight
love
up
how
that
this show touches on it as
played
well
on it. Yeah,
too.
straight up play on that joke.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I was like,
I swear,
when I
anything
saw
with
it in
this,
the
eh?
trailer, one second, when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, yes. What
Yeah.
years I was seeing this man as a crack
This
addict? And man,
anything with this. This show, this just feel like a bunch of Robot Chicken sketches strung together. But that's not a bad thing, eh?
no, no, no. And especially the fact that you have Andy Samberg involved is like,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, okay. Were you a fan of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the series? Like,
I
did you care for it?
was. Yes, I was. Not the biggest fan, but yeah, I was a big fan. I used to watch it. Gadget. It was cool. And I was like super hyped for it because I thought it was coming back in the vein of the new DuckTales show. That's why I thought it was coming back, but not this.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Right.
And I know
So
you're
that's
a
all.
huge fan of the DuckTales revival series.
Exactly. So that's why I
Yeah.
thought we was gonna get that. So, but what to do with this? I actually thought it was just kind of interesting but weird, and I ultimately found myself enjoying it actually.
Yeah, me,
For
me
what
too,
it's
actually, me too, me
what
too.
what
I
it's
did
trying to
not
do with
expect
it.
to
Yeah.
enjoy it as much as I did,
Yeah,
honestly.
it mostly held up because of the Roger Rabbit conceit, right? They just play with that pastiche. Well, yeah, I mean, imagine that like it's a pastiche of pastiche, right? Where it's playing the conceit, but then they mix and match a bunch of like animation styles and approaches and frame rates and everything just kind of come together pretty well. I'll say second act and third act are a little clumsy, but and how they led into each other, but it was fine. And they play out a lot of meta stuff that a little too meta, like they do the whole the villain cliche is a meta and therefore nobody would think it has been a villain cliche and still do it. Like stuff like that. With J.K. Simmons
Yeah, J.K.
character.
Simmons' character, yeah.
Right, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it didn't think, and then I think this joke was spoiled for me because I saw who was the person in the credits, but Dennis Haysbert being the voice of Zipper, like all right, that kind of funny because he's a fly, but well, dumb shit like that. But again, I keep forgetting it's on Disney Plus, and I was what's kind of shocking about this is like I was shocked at how much was allowed because like wait, this on Disney Plus, right? Like it's so cynical now, especially
Yes, it
with
is.
what especially with what the central conceit is. Like that central conceit is super cynical. But yeah, they play it like that. It's like, all right, well, you violating IP law is like akin to the human trafficking. Like what?
Yeah, like, and you would never think about it like that, but
Exactly.
they play it like that.
They played
So,
like that, and it worked for what it is. And like the original Roger Rabbit was about underclass. Like yeah, it was like the underclass working in Hollywood. Like a lot of Hollywood people who in that time was very poor.
yes.
So they had to like it's kind of slave tongue. Well, not slave tongues, but like working tongues, underclass tongues, that kind of thing. And they play that as
Mhm.
well. The tunes being the underclass, like simple metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Simple conceit, right? But then they with this now they frame it in a new context and have it work in a updated premise, and work for the most part, right? In terms of like finding out Monterey Jack and they, again, doing the whole knockoff thing was like so kind of weird though and interesting. But yeah, from a conceit, it was, this was what Space Jam 2 should have been, to be honest. Much better. Works as a successor to Roger Rabbit. And again, genuinely charming story for what it is. Again, they could have they could have played it a little better. And again, mostly because John Mulaney, I felt, was the weak one in terms of the voice acting. I felt it could have worked a little better in terms of what it's trying to go for emotionally. Because it didn't really have any good emotional scenes that landed so well. Mostly because I thought the voice acting was all that good. But then they do one thing that is like a real dark meta conceit, which is the guy who's the voice of Peter Pan. What's this guy named? Bobby something. I forget his name something.
Oh, you mean the real actor
Yeah,
who
the real voice actor.
play Peter Pan?
Yeah,
let me pull it up. Bobby Driscoll.
Bobby Driscoll. Yeah, like holy shit, that is like that is what actually happened to Bobby Driscoll. Like the way they play this now, it's like that's a real deep cut Disney. Like what the fuck would greenlight this? Like that is the kind of stuff I didn't think that they would get past Disney people now. Like this on Disney Plus, you know. That's for sure, you know. Like study this now. Like real weird.
It's for families.
Yeah, but what the fuck, dude? Like that's a real dark story, though. Like to get that in Disney Plus, this is like Song of the South level darkness, you know. Like where they reference, they know.
I know.
But like, all right, they greenlight it.
We all thought it was swept under Disney's rug, but apparently they found the mound of dirt and decided to put it up on screen.
Yeah, and it's who they get a voice of it. Freaking we call him Will. Sorry,
yeah, Will Arnett.
Will Arnett, yeah, BoJack himself, eh? Yeah, and they play it like that. They play it like a BoJack world in a sense, and it worked for the most part. I found myself looking for gags. Again, pausing. You're looking for gags. So like, okay, that kind of funny. Hey, I know this character. They had Paula Abdul in it, but with the crazy cat.
Oh gosh, yeah. Wait, this way.
I forget where it is. Cool Cat.
Yeah, Cool Cat. It's Cool Cat, right? Yeah.
Cool Cat, I think so. It's a little bullshit like that. It's like, okay, that kind of funny. Like, whatever. But yeah, they make it work for what it is. I thought the girl who they got, she was kind of boring. I felt they could have get that.
Or Kiki Lean. I'll talk about she.
I like the actress and everything, but she kind of fell flat. I don't know. They should get somebody else with. I think because it was kind of challenging for her to work across from the CG stuff now, but she just kind of reading her lines flat, and that all the sequences wasn't all that good. So I don't know. But whatever, they make it work. And then the big conceit of it again, a surprise again with this is that I don't know what to spoil it, but yeah, we can spoil it. Ugly Sonic Dread. What the fuck, Dread?
Yes, boy. I was like, what? We doing this. And they make him like one. Like I thought it was just a bit.
Yeah, Dread.
But like he show up a few times. Like what? Okay. And points for the show for zeroing in on the teeth again, like blatantly zeroing in on the teeth. But I was like, oh my god, they're doing this.
It's so many like animation deep cuts and pop culture thing. And it's Seth Rogen himself, eh? Like that because okay, so Seth Rogen, from what I understand, they got into a little bit of trouble because of his animated movie Sausage Party. Because remember, it had some behind the scenes drama with that, involving the animators and again pay and as a whole story. So him now being the one to come into this story, I sure would have addressed that now. But yeah, they had a really funny scene with him where all of his characters was like watching over his character. Because remember he was playing the weird.
Yes. And when I noticed the characters, which you weren't spoiled, I was like, wait, no, yes, he was this, he was that, right?
Yep.
Yes.
There's a bunch of great jokes and thing, but it works for it. This is how to do the nostalgia stuff. You do it where you pay attention to it, but at the same time you call back and you balance it really well with just genuinely good jokes, and they make it work. Rating. I don't know. Not too much to talk about, to be honest, but I didn't super love it, but I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. Maybe closer to 8, but mostly because it heavily relies on the jokes and the references, but because it's so meta and self-referential, it ties back and comes back full circle reasonably well, given the core conceit of the story. This is a really worthy successor to Roger Rabbit, though. It really is fantastic and really works for what it is. Again, it's so many deep cuts with especially the Uncanny Valley stuff and thing. Like, yeah, that real dread, do. But whatever, you go good. Yeah, go ahead now.
Yeah, so my one gripe though with this show, and I was trying my best to ignore it, but I was like, all right, I'm watching the runtime, but okay, so you brought in Monterey Jack, he helps, move the story along. Okay, so where was Gadget?
Right. So
And
it was only until the end.
where's yeah, like and Zipper Dread,
Right.
like you establish them early on, right? Because as you say, Ricardo, they get married, right? Which like they set it up very subtly, yeah. I was like,
Right.
wait,
We
wait,
saw
wait,
that in
wait.
the, in the past.
Don't tell me they're actually gonna do what they're gonna do, right?
Right.
And then you just cut to like present day, and then you show, oh, they actually, got
That
married. I'm like,
the
all
picture.
right, this is the
Yeah, they
world we
showed the
in.
pictures for them. Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. That's
Yeah.
really weird. But okay. So I thought that, all right, we would see them now, but they literally show up in the third act to
Right.
kind of get the characters from point A to point B, and that was a letdown for me, man.
Right.
Especially who they are, you know what I mean? Gadget being that the one
So
who fixes things and stuff, and
yeah.
literally
So
just
that's
get
right. So they
to
blatantly
transport our
they
heroes
blatantly
from
make
point A to
that
point B.
joke. They blatantly make that joke. You can tell is one of those things that they like figure out too late. So they decided to throw it in as a line. So it's like, wait, I'm the same person I am in the show. Like, okay, that's all right. That kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I remember she says that. I was like,
Right.
that's kind of funny, right?
That
And
kind of
then
funny.
and I mean, yeah, Dennis Heathwood being Zipper. That was
Like,
funny. That was funny.
that's kind of
It
funny.
was funny hearing his voice too. You know what I mean?
Again,
But
it's made for kids. That's why I was like, it. Like, I don't know. It's one of those kids will like it, and they try to balance it because look, Roger Rabbit had a bunch of deep cuts as well, but like it was for kids. Like, so I
yeah,
get why.
but no, well, it was yeah, you're right. But it's a PG rating, and just like this
Right.
movie here, they do enough with the PG. They do
Right.
way too much with the PG actually, right? Like they get away with things, but it's like, hey, it's a PG, right? So whatever, right? Yeah.
Right.
But I really was hoping that we see more of her and Zipper Beanie because it's the crew, right? But
Right.
I felt that she was brought in way too late, man. She was just kind of there to more or less get the characters from point A to point B, right? Because Monterey being where he was, that makes sense, right? But when Gadget coming, it was too late, right? And they can make the argument, no, well, it's supposed to be a buddy comedy, right? Because it's Chip and Dale. But
Right. It's just Chip and Dale. Right.
the
I
title
think
is
it was
Chip and Dale
smarter.
Rescue Rangers, bro. Like,
Yeah, I
no,
think it was smarter to stick with them, to be honest. Like I thought that was fine because so it just they focus on the two of them and they protracted relationship.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Keep it to them, but
Right.
don't exclude the other two that part
Right.
of the show. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, you brought them
Okay.
up, right?
Right. Okay.
But other than that, though, other than that, well, that gripe, and then there's also some stilted dialogue here or there. Some of which came unfortunately by Kiki Lane. I
Right.
felt like some of her dialogue just kind of came up a little too flat, like. All right, I must talk like this. It always sounds like it sounds lifted off to some Saturday morning cartoon. It doesn't sound like a real life person would talk like this. But it's a family movie, so I must talk like this, right? And it's unfortunate, right? I really did dig. I really dug. Sorry, J.K. Simmons' character, him playing, Captain Puffy.
Right.
Putty. Yeah, and you get some nice little bits of humor with him as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, it's just like just pause and be like, hey, I know this character, right? So when I
Right.
saw Ugly Sonic, I thought that was really hilarious. Like, okay, we not just pull it from Disney, but we also pull it from like Universal,
Yeah.
from Paramount
Everywhere.
and stuff like that. Case in point with Paramount, we see a character from South Park. I'm not gonna say who, right? You see
Yes.
some TV
That's what I thought.
characters too, like
Yeah.
TV cartoon characters. Like, what? Whoa, okay. I know is the demographic of these characters of these shows, where they're from, and for the kids, but okay, we in this world, all right, similar to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right? But really, what sells this film though is just the meta commentary on classic cartoons, like, hey, which is nothing new, but here they do it in a really interesting way, right? Like here, all right, well, times have changed, so I want to make myself look, more CGI. So that's
Right.
what Chip does. Sorry, that's what Deal does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And here's this uncanny valley section, and here's this one Muppet who kind of coming off like a drug dealer, which
Right.
I fucked with that, but that was hard.
No,
Bro. That was hard. I was
it had
real
a
laughing at
couple,
that.
it had a couple of great like gags in it. Like the part where the police like he was there, so he's like a putty CG plus the scene thing like Gumby, right? But then like a sock puppet guy just walks in.
Yeah, I remember that. That was so funny.
It had so many good visual gags in this
Well,
one. Like,
on the subject of that sock puppet is where it come from. Like it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Like when it comes
Yeah.
in the shot, I
Right.
was like, I was done. I was laughing. I was laughing.
and they make it work in the world building of it. It's like, yeah, it worked. It's fine.
Yeah, and they even kind of justify the humans in this as well too. Well, in
Right.
terms of skill, because like yeah, like the homes of these like the characters like Chip and Dale are small, right? So literally the humans are giants. It makes
Right.
sense. I love how they do that, right?
Yeah,
But
they do
yeah,
a little bit of is it a little bit of BoJack Horseman, but it's more like a little bit of what do you call it? But Zootopia. It's a little bit of that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah,
Especially with the inclusion of the cups and whatnot, right? So
right,
yes, part human, part characters, right?
right.
The whole bootleg stuff caught me by surprise. Like the moment
Yeah,
they set it up with Flounder Dog, I was laughing at that. And I was like, yeah, this is true. This is
yeah,
exactly what happens. This is
yeah,
exactly what happens, right? So I love that whole commentary and oh, this is what happens when a character gets popular. Yeah, you have a knockoff character, right? You have a
yeah,
knockoff film, right? And then I really love too how they touch on well, once they reach their prime in this world, what happens next, and that's
yeah.
why I appreciate the inclusion of the Peter Pan characters. Like, yeah, you know
Right.
what I mean. Even though, admittedly, I've never seen the old Peter Pan, I just never cared to see it. I do like the 2004 live action film, right? I love that,
Right.
especially with Jason Isaac,
I
right?
okay.
Whatever.
So I
But
Peter Pan.
seeing that older version of Peter Pan, I was like, yeah, and it's Peter Pan, so it's like, yeah, he's older now. Get it? Haha, right?
Right. Yeah, right. So yeah, Peter Pan is one of those things that was Disney for a while, but it's one of those things that Disney never really fully control. So yes, Peter Pan had knockoffs. So that's why it made sense doing that. Because I remember what was the name of that Peter Pan in the 90s? There are two Peter Pans used in the 90s.
No, they right. One which is only years I realize is a friggin' anime dread, but it was
Right,
Peter Pan. That was it.
right,
No, it was Peter Pan and the something. I can't remember what it was, but
right.
I remember that used to be on
So
EVM. I saw that.
why I remember it was is that it had Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
You're right.
Which
And
was
then there was
which
the anime one which we saw.
and then at the
and
anime
both
one.
aired at
And
the same time.
the only reason I know about this is because one was on TTT, one was on AVM. That's
You're
it.
right. Yes.
Right.
I,
And
I'm up for the Fox one. The Fox one
no,
was
no, yeah, that was like the
better.
Fox one was great because it had Tim Curry
As Captain Hook.
as Captain Hook. Yeah,
Perfect.
that was the big sell. That was the big sell for that one. And the animation was great. Like when you watch the animation, it's like, oh shit, this is Ricardo's. It flow really well. It's like it was up there now. But yeah, and then it's at the anime. I remember the anime. I think the Adventures of Peter Pan, if I remember correctly.
I think that
Or
yeah,
something
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of deep cuts. There's a lot of there's a surprisingly large amount of depth in
So
this
it's
show.
like a callback to like Disney being mad at other people using the shit now. Like it's that. It's like
Yeah.
it's like they make it, and Peter Pan is like the locus of it now because it have a lot of other versions of Peter Pan that Disney wasn't in charge of. So
Exactly. Yeah.
right.
Now with that being said, right, before we get to Return, right, there's so much depth in this one movie alone.
Yeah.
You kind of wish that it was in theaters, you know. Like in retrospect, I wish this was in theaters. So because
Right,
this
yeah.
would have made a killing in the box office, boy. But
Yeah.
for it to be on Disney Plus is like, well,
Yeah.
all right, well, they kind of don't want certain people to see it though. But I mean,
Yeah.
or maybe it's because of the audience. Like maybe they just feel like kids might not click with it that much, but I mean it's still a fun movie that kids and families can watch, right? But
Yeah.
for us millennials, we could kind of dive in deep and be like, oh, okay, that's what they do, right? So
Yeah.
there's humor that adults will like, and there's humor
Yeah.
that kids will like. So
But
it's a nice balance,
It's a real gags though. It's a real gags. Like I can't
I
like
know,
it's have
boy.
so
Yeah.
much I could remember. It's like because you had to literally pause just to see a thing. Like the other part with like two posters. Okay, who was it, the posters, Judd? Or like the ice cream. It was Ice Age, the squirrel.
Yes, I saw that. Right. That was in Chip's house. Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah, Judd.
I was
It's
like,
like,
holy shit,
yeah.
we doing Fox animation too.
Yes.
This is where we at, you
yeah,
know?
it's like what the they have this, Judd. Who green like this? What the
Yeah.
hell? This boy. You get
Oh,
but
and
yeah.
also another big moment, Batman versus E.T., bro.
Yes.
And the moment where there's a shot. We're not gonna spoil it. You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, Judd.
That shot, boy, had me in stitches. I was like, yeah, that is exactly how a fight between E.T. and Batman will play out at the end,
Right.
like at the climax.
It-
That is exactly how it plays.
It's all these little things like posters or who in what, and like in terms of like what you would be like in the world. The world building is excellent. They really do a good job of already like what Roger Rabbit was like. And I want to see somebody do a compare and contrast with this and Roger Rabbit, and scene for scene shot for shot, like all the little decisions and stuff they do now. So yeah, it updates.
Yes.
Really fantastic.
Also love the inclusion of, well, one of my favorite things about the Chip and Dale series, Fat Cat. Like, I was always a fan of him as a villain, and incorporate him in certain ways, which I was like, all right, that's clever. I like that, right? But yeah, boy. This is a show that I really wish.
I was expecting. The only thing I was expecting is sort of Ralph Bakshi stuff. Like, I thought we would get some of that.
Oh wow, that's real big, dog. That's real. But like, dog. Imagine if Fritz the cat was in the show. Right?
Yeah, or some shit like that. Yeah, I was halfway. I was expecting that. I was like, well, we're going to get Ralph Bakshi, like Cool World would have pop up or something like that.
Oh gosh, if they incorporated heavy traffic in some way,
Yeah.
But speaking of that,
it's not too deep because like Ralph Bakshi is the guy who made Coonskin, so like that not fuck it up. Like
hell to know, right?
Yeah,
but as you bring up Basky, right? Points for the use of rotoscoping in this though, especially with Chip. Yeah, there's a lot of rotoscoping use with her. Sorry, with him and Gadget as well too. I would say with the more 2D looking characters,
it was very impressive. Because why they make it work is just the scale and where stuff should be. It's like they get a lot of that right though. It's like, okay, it's not perfect. It had no. Yeah, I had some issues here or there, and again they could tell. You're not sure if it was a matter of COVID or something hold them back, but it was a little unpolished at parts. Like they make little issues, but it wasn't not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination. So it's like it's still fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah. But
and there's just a few more things. I just love again the world building, right? But I also love the inclusion of the characters to the points where you have characters that that are reminiscent of other characters that you've seen, especially the more sort of poorly rendered cartoon characters. That's all we'll say. But yeah, also the voice acting was decent for the most part. Andy Samberg really killed it as Dale, though John Mulaney was alright. He was alright as Dale. As Chip. Sorry, he was alright. But it was just really all these deep cuts in the scene. Hey, this character, that character, right? It worked, right? But at the end of the day, for me though, I really think that this should have been something that should have been released theatrically, boy. This would have been a killing, boy, especially with the positive reception it's getting. The mere fact that it's on Disney Plus alone is kind of weird, boy. But they should have put this out on big screen, man, But this is just a missed opportunity, in my opinion, man, right? But yes, I do agree with you. This does what Space Jam and New Legacy should have done, a lot better in terms of showing in the present age, this is where this character will be and this is where that character will be, and it will make a lot of sense, right? Not all the jokes land, but the ones that do really do, boy. But it's just really the clever, the wittiness of it all, though. That what really sells this film, right? So yeah, let's share my rating one time. Decent 3.5 out of 5, man. This is absolutely worth checking out, right? Whether you're a fan of the series or not, though, there's still a lot that you will appreciate and enjoy, especially in terms of Disney characters, or I should say Saturday morning cartoon characters, and how you would treat them now in your age, right, and whatnot. That's really the sell of it as well, right? But yeah, this is a really smart, very clever, very witty, take on, on cartoons, right, and the industry as a whole, right, the animation industry, right? Very bold though, very daring though, and you could tell they really took advantage of that PG rating, but they really took advantage of it, right? So, but this is not us saying that this is going to be something really shocking and oh my god, so provocative, right? But the deep cuts though, like when they really dive in deep, it's like oh shit, and they get away with that. What? You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, boy, you have to give Disney a round of applause there, boy. But it's really a missed opportunity because they could have put this in theaters. It would have made a killing, but whatever. But yeah, final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, as I said, 7 out of 10, closer to 8. I dug it for what it was. Again, the gags. Everything is about them gags. Everything is hold on to the gags. The core story, I felt they could have punched up a little bit. And as I say, for the actual technical aspects of it, a little unpolished at parts, but it's fine. Like, it does still work and tie together, and what it's trying to go for does mostly work, like 90% of it. So yeah, 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's me.